Oh yeah, ay. When you need a hand and you don't know why, just know that I'll be there. When the road is long and you feel so tired, just know that I'll be there.
Cool. All right. Hello, YouTube. Wanted to get this caught up. Today is May 8th. It's our Sunday morning coffee rant, though I've already gone through the coffee and I'm already on to a Mountain Dew Energy. So, hold on. John Reagan with the E-Powersport here, and just wanted to go through a few things today. As usual, not really so much of a rant, but there are a few items I want to cover. Actually got a little more organized on this and have a little list here to go over. So the first thing that I wanted to cover is our approach and how we do things and why that's different. And why people need to understand too that we're not actually an e-bike manufacturer, okay? What we are is an e-bike marketplace, a electric motorcycle marketplace, a personal electric vehicle marketplace. So when I release commentary about a bike, not one that we're selling, because I didn't do a full review on it, right? If we were selling it, I would do a full review. Because we're not selling it, I can just give you some mild opinion about it, but you know, I understand people have very heated issues. They love their e-bikes, and that's great. At the same time, you know, the way we work is a little different. Because we're a marketplace and we're not a manufacturer specifically, we're a little more critical because we want to make sure that when we sell the bike, you're happy with it. And you're not just happy with it, but when we talk to you later, when we provide you support, which we'll talk about support as we get through this one, you'll understand that, you know, we're actually here to help you. We're not just here to sell you a bike. And so this is something I want to cover between these two bikes and why this is a great example of that. So this is one of our brands. Well, our brands is one of the brands that we sell, Contacts. And these are two look almost exactly the same bikes, very, very different. This is our pedal assist 750 watt pedal assist only e-bike. Comes with a Bafang motor, has a 12.75 amp hour battery pack, carbon fiber frame. I had never ridden just a pedal assist only bike before, but I have to say, made me love pedal assist only bikes. Just amazing to ride, very responsive, light, easy to do bunny hops with just from a stance. And if you notice, there's no rear shock, but you still get a feeling of a shock through how the flex is in these arms as well as the fat tire. Just a really nice bike all around. I was actually really impressed, very, very impressed. And we may be selling this demo too, so keep an eye out. I'm debating it. I really like riding it. So I'm like, ugh. But if I get rid of it, I'll more than likely get the 8 kilowatt thoroughbred up and running finally. But yeah, it's a whole other thing. Anyway, so on to this one, which is a customer's bike we recently got in. We've been waiting a long time for this, and we're going to do some custom work to it. Because of the time it takes to get the 20-inch wheel versions of these in, and because they didn't come with a throttle, we're going to take this 26-inch version, swap it out to 20-inch, change the fork, get the fork over there, and relace this rim to what was supposed to be a Bafang motor. So we got it in, and you can probably see, I don't know if you can tell, this chain is galvanized. Not really the kind of bike chain you want to see on a over $2,000 bike. So you can probably also see that the tires, in comparison, are very shiny rubber. And when you see that, you can kind of tell they're lacking a coating. There's a grip rubber that should be on these, and it's just not there. So these are what I would call B-grade tires. Additionally, they were put on wrong, or the rim is actually wrong. You can kind of see it down here, but the sidewall bead dips in. And so I've tried reseating these multiple times, and they just don't reseat. The customer, when they found out it was not a Bafang motor, wanted a refund. And so we're processing a refund and getting that taken care of with Contacts. But this is what we do. This is why we do it. Because over here, right, we have one version of the bike, which is perfectly fine, right? Over here, we have a version of the bike that is not perfectly fine for us, right? They are okay with it. They had to do some redesign because the Fang motors, when they produced these, were in very short supply. So they went with a AKM motor, and with the software, it's not as near as mature as the Bafang stuff, or even some of the more non-name stuff, just more generic stuff that's out there. So it doesn't really give you that experience that you would expect in being able to unlock it and being able to use that 1,000 watts of power to really push you. It feels very limited. So it's going to go back and we're returning it. But that's why we do it, because not all of these come out the same. And we have already spoken with contacts about this. They're already talking with their management. They're already talking with R&D about the feedback from the ride on it. And they're going to look to make change, which is good. That's our feedback loop. That's what we want when we do these things with our suppliers and stuff. We want them to get that information from you, from us, and we want them to make improvements. So then when they send us another one, it'll be better. It'll be what it's supposed to be. So that's our approach. That's why we're different, right? I'm not just selling an e-bike, okay? We're selling all e-bikes. I mean, we're helping you fix and repair all e-bikes, right? When the companies aren't around to help you anymore, that's where what we're here for. So, moving this next topic, the take a drink on this one. And so should you. You should also, if you're having coffee or, I don't know, maybe you're a morning drinker, you should probably take a swig. This gets deep. So the e-bike industry right now is facing a very interesting point. And I think it's great that people have a lot of loyalty to certain brands, okay? In the long run, it's not going to help. The industry is oversaturated. It's there's so many different e-bike brands. I just read about 2 new brands today coming out with 2 e-bikes that look not exactly the same, but very similar. And I can actually go find those e-bikes right now on Alibaba. So I'm just saying, the e-bike industry has become what the auto industry it was in the early 1900s. At one point, there were 255 automakers in the US. 255. You could actually buy a car from Sears, okay? Or, excuse me, the local pharmacy. You could buy a car from a drugstore, okay? So, and if you look at the industry of e-bikes right now, we're pretty much there. We're at I think there's 90 or 100 new e-bike companies. A majority of them are just brand front companies for manufacturers who are making the bike and then just slapping some name on it, seeing what hooks with Americans, really. What grabs them, what brings them in, right? And it's a very, very much a dice roll on things. I live in Vegas, so probabilities and statistics is what they're really working. But with all these brands and what happened with the auto industry, is in the next 3 to 5 years in the e-bike industry, I predict that a lot of your favorite brands aren't going to exist anymore. Just as Pawn Bike began buying up a lot of companies and Giant bought up a lot of brand companies, so will these large companies that already exist in the industry look and see who they want to select to buy and who they think will just die. Okay. Now, when it comes to companies with a broad base, right, they are most likely the ones to get bought, provided they're still profitable. When it comes to companies with a great name but a small base of product, unless they are really just deep entrenched and not supplanable by another company, they're most likely not going to get bought. And so the most likelihood, or what I would call law of eventuality, is that they will fold. So if you guys are from Electric, happen to be watching this, you should get in touch with me. You've done some good stuff, and though I'm not real big on some of the stuff I've been reading lately, we'll get into that too. I just, we should probably talk. Because yeah, this downward spiral that's coming, you might say, for the e-bike industry, is going to wipe out a lot of brands. It's going to basically and it won't be these brands, because these brands are supported by the manufacturers. These are brands that the manufacturers have vested into, and they're not going to die out. But what will die out are the front end brands that have built market, but not any back end manufacturing, not any value added service that applies in the unit or around the units. So, which, speaking of value added services, kind of leads me to my next thing in this, and what you should take away from this last point that I just made was that in the next 3 to 5 years, it's good that you're loyal to certain brands, but those brands most likely aren't going to be around. They're most likely going to fold or get bought. And when the companies that aren't there anymore, or even are there, will no longer support you and help you with your bikes because, well, they want you to buy a new one instead of helping you just replace parts, you can come to us, because that's what we'll do. We'll help you replace the parts. We'll help you figure out what works, and if you really need a new bike. So let's get into that, the support. That's what I was, other thing, man. So I did, in my career early on, I did a lot of tech support. I worked at a company called Speakeasy, which was the largest independent DSL service provider in the nation at the time, and worked my way up from customer support all the way up to their corporate trainer and left there to go do other stuff. Prior to that, I worked at Microsoft Product Support Services and was one of their number one, I say one of, because there's a bunch of us, different groups, one of their number one support center, call center people with the lowest number of escalations and the highest number of resolved calls. So I know a little bit about support, okay? What was interesting to me, now when I made those electric videos, I knew what I was doing, right? Electric has created a very passionate group of people, and that's awesome. So what it allowed me to do is get reaction and feedback from them about things, right? I knew they would respond, and they did. You all responded great. Actually, thank you. I love it because it really helped me to define some things a little better. The aspects of support that people have described to me don't point out that the company is actually supporting them directly. What it points to is that the company has found ways to reduce their support costs by pushing it off onto the community. And when you do support, you have, the idea is to create a community, right? Because it does reduce your support costs. It allows you to open source answers to questions, facts, things like that. But what you don't do is completely rely on the community. I mean, I've gone out to some of the YouTube videos and I've watched some of the more popular ones that are centered around those bikes, and they aren't always very accurate. Actually, some of them are just complete misinformation on some things. I was like, wow. But what got me even more was, as I looked through the comments on these, I realized that here's somebody talking about the electric XP and completely misinforming the public about it, right? In these videos. This is an open source, go to the community type video situation. Completely misinforming people. And so when I think about that, and there was no correction from Lectrek. There was no, hey dude, that point you made there, you great video, but this point here you made, this is actually how it is, or this point here you made, this is how it really is. If you wouldn't mind, like maybe posting a follow-up video or something to correct that, that'd be awesome. Or just, make sure this is a highlight, something like that. But no engagement. And that's where I was kind of just thrown back a little bit, where I was like, wow, so you tell people go to the community, but then you let the community misinform people. That's not right. And you still have to moderate communities. So, and again, this comes from a long history of doing tech support and product support and all kinds of support. So yeah, companies need to engage more in that support aspect. And that's something we do. We have videos, you've seen my videos, I have videos from the manufacturers that come in. I have a video from Paselect that tells you how to take the controller out of that thing, put it back together, what all the wires are for. Actually, 2 or 3 videos for that. So, 1, we're big on right to repair. All right. 2, we actually will make videos and documents to help you and help guide you through the process. So, I think it's good to have community. I mean, it's great actually to have community, but what you also need to have is real support. You actually need to have the information, the knowledge base available to your customers when they need it, right? And I'm not perfect. I've sent people the wrong display manual, like, oh, you got this one. No, I got this one. Oh, here you go, my bad. And I still have a few things to set up on the website, as far as the repositories of knowledge, as it were. But that's a bigger thing that I'm working on as a whole. So that's why it's important to you to really think about the support you're getting and around these units. It's really easy for companies to say they support you as you're buying it, right? And then after you've bought it and you have a question, it's really easy for them to tell you, go check this community group. Maybe somebody else asked that question. Well, that's what actually FAQs were for. Manuals were for, or actual support, right? And that's what we provide. We provide real support. I have people that email me all the time, email us, and we get back to them about their questions. I have customers that have sent me pictures of changing out to hydraulic brakes and changing out different tires. One guy took his GS9, that's the GS9 Plus, but he took his GS9 and put a D&M shock on the back there. It's freaking sweet looking. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. They're not limited just to what they have on them. They are upgradable like other bikes. You just have to make sure the part fits. It's really that's all there is to it. So yeah, things are upgradable. We give you real support. We're here when you call us. I may have to call you back if we're on something, or we can get somebody to call you back here. But still at the same time, I'm trying to help people understand that your loyalty is great to your brands, but you need to understand those brands probably aren't going to be there in the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, Lectric is a great company for what they've done, but that's what I want to cover. I was kind of surprised when I went over their About Us page recently. I was like, wow, they just took all the user community out of there, didn't they? Speaking of community, see, I understand their story a little different than what I'm reading here in their webpage about them. It really talks about, hey, they're like, I guess the thing that really got me was they completely removed the RV community that they had initially catered to. So they don't say anything about spending their $10,000 on a set of bikes to send out to YouTubers for marketing, which actually launched them and got their sales going, was sending out those marketing bikes. And even worse, I think to me, is they say they designed the bikes. Oh, did you actually design the XP? Is that your design over there? Did you actually draw this out in CAD? Did you submit all the parts and everything, and you did all the wiring schematic and all that stuff? I'd be curious to see that. I think a lot of people know that these bikes have been around for a while, and it's only in the recent power containment as well as the force of the motors that's really brought them into the picture. And the pandemic, right? When you look at companies like this, and there's some companies out there that it's happening already, you have to understand the pandemic brought huge gains for them, but they thought those gains would continue. Instead of saying, oh, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So there's been a lot of additional spend that's been generated, and all that additional spend, it's not being supported anymore. And so their sales are slumping. Across the board. It's just the e-bike industry as a whole, the sales are slumping, even now in the peak of sales. But man, just to say stuff like that, like, hey, we designed that. It's like, did you? Did you really design it? Or did you just like take a design and tell them what little bits and pieces you wanted to change? Because I'm pretty sure it's the latter, not the former. But I would concede. So, and that's where that's what authentic means to me. Right? There's a lot of talk about being authentic there, but just the terminology and the phrases used just do not seem authentic to me. They may seem authentic to you, but I can tell you from experience, it's not going to fly. So there's just a lot of stuff in here that just blew my mind when I went through this, and how they removed the whole RV thing was funny. Because it did say in there when they released the X Premium, a multi-generational, highly mobile group of something or other. It was just this big load of corporate bullshit, And as somebody who wrote corporate bullshit for 20 years in job descriptions, I can tell you it was a load of corporate bullshit. So anyway, back to the point. E-bike industry, not as good as you might think right now. Lots of companies will be gone. We will stay because we're a marketplace, not an e-bike manufacturer. We make sure that bikes are the way you want them. If they're not the way you want them, we get your money back, we get you the bike, or we fix it and get you the bike. Units, upgradable, supported, we help you, videos, knowledge, shared, and that's how it should be.
I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there if you need me.